The sunlight streamed through the tall classroom windows like golden blades cutting across rows of silent desks, and the soft murmurs of students faded the moment Professor Elena Hart stepped into the lecture hall. No one expected the day to be different, until the impossible equation glared from the whiteboard like a taunt, and the janitor standing in the doorway unknowingly stepped into a moment that would change his life. Elena turned, her heels clicking sharply, and with a teasing smile she jokingly announced that anyone who could solve the equation would win her hand in marriage, an absurd challenge, thrown into the air like a joke no one was meant to take seriously. But when her eyes met those of Daniel Brooks, the quiet janitor in his Navy uniform, something shifted, a story waiting to unfold, an old scar waiting to rise to the surface. If only she knew what pain he carried, what brilliance he had buried, and how this single challenge would unlock a truth hidden for years. Before we go deeper into this emotional journey, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected stories. Your support truly helps us continue bringing such heart-touching narratives to you. The morning had begun like any other for Daniel, mopping the hallway floors while students and faculty passed by without noticing him. No one paid attention to the quiet man with tired eyes and worn-out gloves. He worked with steady, humble grace, avoiding attention, avoiding questions, avoiding the past that once defined him. Years ago, Daniel had been a brilliant mathematics researcher, praised for his sharp mind. But life had a way of breaking even the strongest spirits. The loss of his parents, the financial collapse that followed, and the betrayal of a close colleague who sabotaged his thesis had pushed him out of academia entirely. He had walked away from the world he once loved, choosing silence over recognition, peace over ambition. Becoming a janitor wasn't his dream, but it was the only life he could manage when survival mattered more than titles. Elena Hart, on the other hand, carried herself with elegance and confidence. She had earned her place as the department's rising star, a professor known for her passion, her precision, and her warm smile that made students feel they belonged. But even she had her hidden wounds, an upbringing filled with pressure to be perfect, a heart guarded after too many disappointments. Still, no one would ever guess that behind her polished exterior lived a woman yearning for authenticity, for someone who saw her as a person and not a pedestal. That morning, as she scribbled the equation, a notoriously unsolved expression from a research paper, in bright blue marker, the students stared at it with wide eyes. She laughed lightly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, and joked that solving it would be enough to marry her. The students chuckled, no one took it seriously. But Daniel, passing by with cleaning supplies in hand, paused in the doorway. The equation on the board ignited a memory inside him, the last problem he had worked on before his world crumbled. His heart thudded painfully. He didn't want to look, didn't want to feel that old ache, but some invisible pull drew him closer to the board. And Elena noticed. Her smile was polite, curious, slightly amused as she saw him gaze at the equation. The students whispered, some smirking, assuming the janitor was out of place. But Daniel didn't care about their whispers. Something inside him stirred, battling the fear and suffocation he had carried for years. He stepped forward, quietly asking if he could try. The room fell silent, as if someone had cut the world's volume in half. Elena raised her brows, surprised but not unkind. She handed him the marker. Daniel stood before the board, his hand trembling not from lack of knowledge but from resurfacing memories. Every symbol, every variable whispered pieces of his old self. Slowly, methodically, he began writing. His movements were hesitant at first, then sharpened, then flowed with a grace Elena had never seen, not even from her top students. The murmurs behind him faded as the whiteboard filled with clean, precise steps, as though he were unlocking a door only he could see. Elena's amusement dissolved into fascination, then shock, and then something deeper, something like recognition. The final number circled back into place, the board complete. Daniel stepped back, breathing heavily, as if he had just dug up a buried version of himself. For a long moment, no one spoke. And then Elena stepped forward, her eyes wide, her heart pounding. She traced the final line with her gaze, checking each step, each transformation. It was flawless. Absolutely flawless. She felt her breath catch. The room erupted in whispers, astonishment, disbelief. But she didn't hear them. She only saw him, really saw him, for the first time. Daniel lowered his head, embarrassed, whispering that it was just an old problem he remembered. But Elena's voice softened as she told him that what he'd done wasn't something anyone could just remember. She asked him gently why he was working as a janitor. His silence was its own heartbreak. She could tell there was a story he wasn't ready to share, but she felt something bloom inside her, a respect, admiration, and a strange warmth she couldn't explain. Over the next weeks, something changed. Daniel became more visible, not because he tried, but because Elena made sure he knew he mattered. She invited him to the lounge for coffee, asked about his ideas, encouraged him to audit classes. Students who once looked past him now greeted him with genuine smiles. And slowly, painfully, he began to believe that maybe his life wasn't over, that maybe he still had something to offer the world. Elena found herself drawn to his quiet strength. The way he listened. The way he carried humility despite brilliance that could overshadow anyone. And Daniel discovered that her laughter wasn't arrogance, it was a melody that carried warmth. Their conversations grew longer, softer, more personal. The walls around both their hearts began to ease. But fear still lingered in Daniel's soul, the fear that he didn't deserve a place beside her. Until the day Elena approached him standing alone in the courtyard under the gentle afternoon sun, where the sky looked soft and endless. She told him she remembered her joke, "Solve this equation and I'll marry you." Her voice trembled slightly as she explained that she never meant it literally, but that what he solved that day was something far greater than math. He solved the lingering doubts in her heart about what real connection looks like. She told him he made her believe in people again, believe in goodness again. For the first time, Daniel lifted his eyes fully, letting himself feel the possibility of happiness. And she saw something break open inside him, something fragile and beautiful. He didn't answer right away, but he didn't need to. The way he looked at her was enough. If this story has touched your heart so far, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Your support keeps these emotional stories alive. As days turned into weeks, Daniel slowly reclaimed the dreams he once abandoned. Elena stood beside him, not as a professor admiring a prodigy, but as a woman who saw men worth standing with. The university helped him re-enroll in advanced courses, and soon he became not just a familiar face but a respected mind again. And somewhere in the quiet spaces between early morning lectures and late afternoon coffees, their hearts found the courage to intertwine. Not because of an equation. Not because of a joke. But because kindness, second chances, and unexpected connections create miracles when we least expect them. Before we end, please comment below, second chances matter. Daniel didn't just solve an equation that day. He solved the moment that changed everything, showing the world, and himself, that no life is too broken to rise again, and no heart too damaged to love again.